Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Matheson, and welcome to another of our Critical Insights lessons on work-oriented neurorehabilitation. In our previous discussion, we dove into the vital cognitive ability of oral comprehension, defined as the ability to listen to and understand information and ideas presented through spoken words and sentences. It's not just about hearing sounds, it's about your brain's internal decoder, transforming those sounds into meaningful information. Today we're taking that insight a step further by showing you exactly how occupational therapists can leverage the Dynamic Complex Assessment Task, or DCAT-2, to evaluate this crucial ability, particularly for patients recovering from a stroke or concussion. Think about occupations where a misinterpretation of a single word can have catastrophic consequences. An emergency dispatcher is a prime example. Their entire day revolves around rapidly and accurately comprehending frantic calls, discerning the nature of an emergency, its location, and the level of distress. Literally, their ability is life-saving. Now imagine an emergency dispatcher who has experienced a stroke and as a result is navigating the challenges of receptive aphasia, which directly impacts oral comprehension, their ability to understand spoken language. How do we objectively assess if they can safely and dependably return to such a demanding, high-stakes role? This is where DCAT-2 becomes an indispensable tool. DCAT-2 is a demand-graded suite of 15 work simulations, specifically designed by and for occupational therapists to assess work capacity in individuals with cognitive limitation. What makes it so powerful is its calibration with the ONET system, bridging the gap between our clinical observations and real-world job demands. A client like our emergency dispatcher, let's call him Sam, is in a high-stakes job where cognitive speed and accuracy are crucial. His job requires him to quickly and accurately comprehend a caller's distress, location, and nature of the emergency. If his stroke has led to receptive aphasia and cognitive slowing, he may not be able to go back to his old job, or he may need substantial accommodations. He certainly needs to be carefully evaluated by an occupational therapist. When assessing a client, such as our emergency dispatcher, we begin by setting up a quiet, well-lit workstation for the DCAT-2 situational assessment. Our first step in evaluating his oral comprehension involves providing multi-step verbal commands for the chair assembly task. These instructions are delivered verbatim, just as they are outlined in the DCAT-2 manual. As Sam attempts to follow these instructions, we observe him meticulously. Does he consistently follow all parts of the instruction, even as we increase their complexity? Does he pause, appear confused, or frequently ask for repetition? These nonverbal cues and requests for clarification are vital indicators of his processing speed and comprehension difficulties. But we go beyond simple observation. To truly gauge his understanding, we ask Sam to paraphrase or summarize the instructions in his own words. This isn't about memorization. It's about seeing if he has truly processed the meaning. We also pose questions that require inferential understanding, asking him to draw conclusions or make connections from what he's heard, moving beyond mere recall. For someone with receptive aphasia, this is where the breakdown often occurs. They might listen to the words, but the meaning isn't correctly processed, with devastating results. For an emergency dispatcher, the ability to comprehend under pressure, with interruptions, is paramount. This is where DCAT-2's telephone message transcription task comes into play. We impose structured cognitive interference to assess how well Sam maintains adequate oral comprehension. At the same time, we're starting to get a better handle on any problems he might have with perceptual speed, problem sensitivity, and selective attention. In 9 of the DCAT-2 situational assessments, we introduce a layer of calibrated cognitive demand by incorporating telephone message interruptions during the chair assembly process. Sam must pause his assembly, listen carefully to an audio message, and then transcribe critical information onto a telephone message pad. This includes the recipient's name, date, time of call, caller's name and number, and the core message content. The difficulty level of these messages is empirically determined considering factors like incomplete segments, the complexity of the message itself, and even the caller's accent and vocal speed to mimic the unpredictable nature of telephone calls. A particularly crucial part of this task, especially for an emergency dispatcher, is the contingent instruction. Immediately tell me if a call involves a sick child. This assesses Sam's event-based perspective memory and ability to identify and act on highly critical, time-sensitive information, even when it conflicts with a general instruction not to speak to the evaluator during the task. His response to this specific instruction offers direct insight into his ability to prioritize and act on critical verbal cues, a non-negotiable skill for a dispatcher. Throughout this process, we are not passive observers. We actively monitor and intervene in accordance with the Minimum Necessary Intervention, MNI, guidelines. We start by offering self-managed accommodations such as allowing Sam to arrange his workstation for optimal access. If he struggles, we might transition to coached accommodations, providing verbal cues or guidance similar to how a senior dispatcher supports a trainee. If active supervision requiring ongoing physical or verbal assistance is needed, this indicates a significant limitation in his ability to perform tasks safely and dependably without constant external support. Every observation, every intervention, every request for repetition or sign of confusion is meticulously recorded on the DCAT-2 evaluation record. This observational data is then mapped to behaviorally anchored rating bar scales for oral comprehension, allowing us to quantify his demonstrated ability level. For instance, the bar scale for oral comprehension ranges from understanding a simple television commercial at level 2.0 to comprehending a coach's instructions at 4.0, or even a lecture on advanced physics at 6.0. An emergency dispatcher would typically require an exceptionally high bar level due to the complexity and speed of information processing required. Once we've collected this rich data, we use the Employability Rating Scale, ERS, to determine Sam's global employability level, classifying him as competitive, self-managed, coached, active supervision, or not employable based on the accommodations required. The Occupational Task Ability Profiler, OTAP, further empowers us to interpret these findings. OTAP enables us to directly compare Sam's demonstrated oral comprehension bar scores from DCAT-2 with the ONET benchmarks for an emergency dispatcher, a role that requires high demands for this ability. If Sam's bar score for oral comprehension falls significantly below the required ONET level, or if he consistently needs coached intervention during the telephone message tasks, it reveals a critical shortfall that could pose a direct threat to safety in a real-world emergency dispatch setting. Based on this empirical data, we can then formulate a targeted neuro-rehab plan. This might involve working on strategies to improve his oral comprehension under distraction, potentially in collaboration with a speech therapist or neuropsychologist if indicated. We can also identify and recommend reasonable accommodations to his employer. This could include advocating for an initial reduced workload or exploring job restructuring. The DCAT-2, in conjunction with ONET, provides empirical and ecologically valid guidance to bridge the gap between the clinic and the workplace. It enables us to objectively quantify an individual's abilities, such as oral comprehension, in a functional, work-relevant context. This empowers us to provide precise, evidence-based recommendations, ensuring that individuals like Sam can make a safe and dependable return to work, maximizing their productivity while respecting their residual abilities. This is the essence of work-oriented neurorehabilitation, and it underscores the critical, unique contribution of the occupational therapist to the rehabilitation team and the client's journey. So thank you for your time and attention. We certainly appreciate your interest in what we're doing to help bridge the gap between the clinic and the worksite by creatively using the Occupational Information Network to develop high-quality neuro-rehab plans. If you are already a user of the original doll chair assembly task, the new Dynamic Complex Assessment task, DCAT-2, is available as an upgrade. You'll save a lot of money because the doll chairs are exactly the same. If you would like to upgrade, drop me a note at matsondevelopment.com and we'll get back to you about what the cost would be. We hope to hear from you soon. Take care now.